I think it's clear that Alan Sugar only cares about one thing in this world: his enormous wealth. His enmity towards Jeremy Corbyn was clear right from the get-go. As Mrs Merton might have said, what was it about a man who wanted to increase tax on the wealthy that made you hate him so much? Here he is just after Jeremy was elected.
So what about the new leader of the Labour Party? Good for business?
No, not really. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm an ordinary, I consider myself an ordinary member of the public at times, okay? And up until about 3 or 4 months ago, I'd never heard of him, right? And I think if you ask, 100 people in the street 4 months ago about this fella, they would have said, no, never heard of him. And I don't know where he came from. He came from, he obviously got voted in by these, I think it cost you 30 quid to become a member of the Labour Party or something, temporary membership. And then someone must have drummed that up. I don't know who that was. And they voted him in. And
but he is there.
Well, he's been voted in, but my personal opinion is that I cannot visualise someone like him talking to Angela Merkel or Barack Obama or Francois Hollande or I just can't. Would the public like him talking to those people, representing us as the Prime Minister of this country? I don't think so.
Did you hear the absolute contempt in his voice there? Not only for Jeremy, but for the hundreds and thousands of Labour Party members who voted for him. This is the same Lord Sugar who quite happily encouraged people to vote for Boris Johnson, a man who on the international stage was generally recognised as a complete clown and at best a poor man's Trump. And I'll tell you something else, Lord Sugar. Jeremy Corbyn wouldn't have been having piss-ups in number 10 while hundreds of thousands of his fellow citizens died in a pandemic that was so disastrously mismanaged by his government. But hey-ho, perhaps let the bodies pile high is exactly the kind of can-do attitude that Lord Sugar's looking for both in a Prime Minister and in his apprentice hopefuls. Alan Sugar's hatred of Jeremy Corbyn was clear from the get-go. So, once the anti-Semitism smear campaign got going, this was one character assassination that Alan Sugar just couldn't wait to be part of. As a result, he tweeted this spectacularly unfunny joke. So crass and offensive was Lord Sugar's attempt to join in the smear campaign that even the main players in that character assassination realised he was at risk of blowing the whole thing wide open and exposing it for the complete sham that it was. Good Lord, even John Mann had to step in. John Mann said, "The use of Hitler, Nazi comparators is demeaning, unwarranted and dangerous. You damaged the fight against anti-Semitism with this, Lord Sugar. Withdraw this and apologise, please." Sugar did eventually delete the tweet, but ungraciously and with no apology. It's a joke, but the angry brigade liked to moan. Sugar's attacks on Corbyn were relentless over that 2015 to 2019 period. One of the weirdest lines of attack that he used was that if Jeremy Corbyn ever became Prime Minister, that he would leave the country. Well, I think the vast majority of the population would have been indifferent to that particular outcome. In fact, there might even have been a few who would be cheering him along. Good morning, Britain. Lord Sugar says he will leave the country if Jeremy Corbyn is PM. Here he is in December the 12th, 2018.
If he becomes the Prime Minister of this country, I am out. I'm leaving.
He then repeated the threat on June 2019. Lord Alan Sugar threatened to leave the UK under a Corbyn government again. It didn't go well. The reason that it says "and it didn't go well" is because on the second occasion, Lord Sugar made it abundantly clear when he was speaking to Piers Morgan that the reason that he didn't want a Jeremy Corbyn Prime Ministership is that it would affect him personally and Piers Morgan in terms of the amount of tax that both of them would have to pay.
But in all seriousness, Piers, you don't realise how dangerous this is. A highly paid television executive like yourself might realise one morning, why am I getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do this TV programme when 80% of my income is being taken by this red fellow here, this communist? You might suddenly realise that. You might join me. You might come and join me.
Now, this threat to leave the country if Jeremy Corbyn won a general election is partly the reason why Lord Sugar is back in the news this week again, because it transpires that he actually, as far as he's concerned and for tax purposes, wanted to leave the country even though the Tories actually did win. And it turns out that Lord Sugar will have to pay the 186 million tax bill after all. But let's remember, Lord Sugar is a multi-billionaire. I'm sure that the nation as a whole feels his pain and mourns with him at this tragedy. Another of Alan Sugar's lines of attack on Jeremy Corbyn over the 2015 to 2019 period is that Jeremy Corbyn was an idiot. Well, it turns out that it was Lord Sugar that is the idiot, because even the most stupid of us might have thought to check the regulations re UK citizenship and being a permanent member of the House of Lords, because one would seem to imply the other. The London Economic explained it this way. Sugar argued he qualified for non-residency, meaning a person does not live in Britain and spends no more than 90 days here in a year. Because he spent months in Australia hosting its version of Celebrity Apprentice, he tried to persuade authorities to disregard the income earned from Amshel Group, which totalled hundreds of millions of pounds. However, he failed to remember that, as a member of the House of Lords, he was automatically resident in the UK. He has since reportedly said that he's prepared to quit the Lords to change his tax status, raising questions about his commitment to his parliamentary duties. Yep, just in case there's any doubt, for Alan Sugar, it's always about money. This man is already a multi-billionaire, yet his greed and avarice knows no bounds. The question really has to be asked, is this man somebody that the licence fee funded BBC should be promoting as a role model for aspiring entrepreneurs? Well, I think not, and I think it's time the BBC said to Alan Sugar, yes, you guessed it, no cliche unturned, Alan Sugar, you're fired.